Hello everyone and welcome to a special video. We are doing the final list review for the Gauntlet Series 2023. I am joined tonight by Jayden. Jayden, how you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Henry.
Awesome to have you on the show. So Jayden is the highest ranked player that attended the Gauntlet, but he only came to one event, so he didn't qualify for the final cut. We're going to see next year to get him to more than one event to see if we can get him in the final. But the crazy thing was that Jayden didn't actually register for that event either. He just rocked up on the day and was like, hey, if there's a free spot, I'm keen to play. Otherwise, that was it. But Jayden, just for everyone who might not know you, can you just give them a quick backstory about kind of what you've been doing in wargaming and kind of what you've been up to recently?
Yeah, awesome. I've been playing really competitively for the past 2 years since moving up to Brisbane. My main faction's Nurgle. I've been playing them before people jumped on the Glotkin train. I've been going to every tournament I possibly can. I'm playing like 2 or 3 games a week on average for the past two plus years. Got a fair bit of exposure and always competing against some really tough opponents. Love this space, and I've got a problem. I think I'm up to like 9 armies now. I need to stop.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a problem that we all have. So I know that you're kind of based on the north side of Brisbane with the Wargamers Hub. So I've been hearing a lot of things from them. Those guys are absolutely smashing out the games, and it is showing. We've got basically half the field for the Gauntlet Finals is from the Wargamers Hub. So mad congrats to the Hobby Grots, which is the club up there. I know they've been doing really well at a lot of events, and it's been showing, playing a lot of games. It's definitely kind of in my opinion, it is the way to get better is to just play games, so that you're comfortable in kind of every situation. So, how is the scene looking up there? Is it kind of fairly balanced? Because I know you got some new guys in. How's it working bringing those guys up?
Yeah, I'd say it is fairly balanced. We've got a really good mix, and the cool thing is because so many of us have so many different armies, we can just kind of say, "Oh, we've seen enough OBR for a while. Let's bring something else in."
Hmm.
We'll kind of do that for fun, and we'll bring some really wacky lists and just push our list to the nth degree. And like, does this work? Does this not? We're typically not in the space to do like that meta list. We try and get really weird lists that kind of catch people by surprise. I think that's something that we really pride ourselves in, and it just creates some really unique, fun games as well.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. Like list design as part of the game is a kind of a huge part of how I do the hobby. Even today, I was waiting for some scripts to run. It worked. I was writing new lists. I've got an absolutely ridiculous Slaves to Darkness list that I'm keen to theory a bit more. But I've got some fun Seraphon lists as well. So I can
Yeah,
definitely understand kind of just
I've
that
just been
listing.
playing around with a 30 chosen list, and let me tell you, it is absolutely as disgusting as it sounds.
Oh, well, that is awesome. I'm keen to see that on the table sometime. But unfortunately, for everyone listening, not for us, we could easily sit here for the entire evening and just talk kind of crazy list tech. But let's get into the show a bit properly. So first up, we've got the breakdown of Grand Alliances that attended all the events of the Gauntlet. So it was only a 4-event season this year. We got a lot of feedback last year that 10 events over across the entire year was probably a bit too much. And people got very burnt out towards the end. So we reduced it down to a half year. And so we got 4 events. We had almost max players at every event, which was fantastic to see. And a lot of people only came to 1 or 2. So that means that we're getting a lot of kind of everyone in the community is getting behind it as well. But we've also got a decent chunk of people that came to multiple, came to 3 or 4, which is awesome as well because it means that we're doing something right. So looking at the Grand Alliance breakdown, we've got 33% of the field is order, 32% is chaos, 20% is death, and then 14.6 is destruction. Jayden, do you reckon that's probably a good snapshot of the overall Southeast Queensland meta, or do you reckon it's a little bit skewed?
Um, I think it's I think it's pretty reflective. I would definitely say death would be a bit bigger than what's represented here. depth has just gone bonkers at the moment with Soulblight and OBR really just crushing it at the moment. But for the most part, I'd say yes. Destruction have been struggling a bit. I mean, they just haven't been able to keep up, especially with Oryx. They've been getting a lot of good battle tactics now. Big Wars come in as well, which I think we'd be bumping those numbers up a bit more than what we're seeing here.
No. And with Feck on the horizon as well, I reckon there's going to be a big death resurgence. So the interesting thing is on the kind of the next screen that we'll show, which is the faction breakdown, which from my perspective is really interesting because the three top factions that were represented were Blades of Khorne, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and Stormcast. So Khorne, with their new book, absolutely coming from nowhere, and then followed very closely by Ossiarchs and Stormcast. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that those guys have just kind of jumped in popularity?
Yeah, well, I mean, so Blades of Khorne, like, with the right pilot, Blades of Khorne are ridiculous. The tech inside of them is just absolutely insane. And, like, I like to consider myself somewhat of a techie player, and I go against someone like Corey playing Khorne, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, I can't, like, there's too many brains here. I can't even compute this, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, really technical, and they're just super fun. Like, they're badass, they're rock stars. When it comes to OBR, I think very similar. The models look fantastic, and then when the rules came out, they can do everything, like absolutely everything. They can just adjust to the fly on any situation, right? And even if you take the sub faction where you've just got the 2-up spell ignore, even just having that as like a backup contingency is fine because your army's just good anyway. Like it can always adapt and answer any situation. So I think OBR is just solid all around. And then when it comes to Stormcast, I mean, well, let's be real, like everyone's got a Stormcast army. And so it's easy just to get them on the table. And they're so robust, but again, they can kind of just like neutrally do everything, and they're pretty good all-rounders. And so you're just gonna have people that are just like, yep, let's just throw down, let's just get it done. I've got my whole army painted. But those who want to really min-max Stormcast can get a lot of cool stuff out of it. I mean, it's a push uphill, but it still works.
Yeah, and we've got one Stormcast list in the finals as well, and it's a really interesting list that we'll get to later in a bit. But the other thing that I wanted to point out with the faction breakdown is, apart from say like the top 3 or 4, there is a huge variety across the rest of the list. Like we've got Nighthaunt, Nurgle, Lumineth, KO, Feck, Daughters, Slaves, Orcs, IDK, Beasts, Zinch. There is a massive variety, which I find is really cool, and it's kind of a good indication that the balance of the game is fairly good at the moment. There's always going to be the kind of the haves and the have-nots, and I definitely agree with your comments earlier, with Khorne just having so many answers, being able to just kind of suit whatever they need to be able to do. There's always going to be factions like that are just that little bit better. But to see such a variety of factions being run at these one-dayers, and one thing that I have found, especially last year, was that people were kind of fairly willing to bring a very out there, very unmeta, just kind of, hey, this is a cool idea I thought of, I'll bring it to a gauntlet, I'll run it in 3 games and see how it goes. So whereas people probably aren't that willing to take that risk at a bigger 2-dayer that's a lot more expensive to go to, and then there's a lot more investment. If it doesn't work out, you're suddenly stuck kind of trying to push your army up the hill to make it work. So, excuse me, I've got a cough that I can't seem to shake that I got overseas. But yeah, so it's a really interesting for the breakdown there. Do you think that kind of the overall faction breakdown is relatively representative of the local meta, or do you think it is a little bit skewed one way or the other?
I think it is pretty representative. I really do. We've got, just from our local meta and like all the tournaments we play, kind of the usual crowd. Like there is a really wide spread, right? Which I think is very, very exciting. Of course, you're going to have the camps that are in the, typically Soulblight or OBR, and when we just played Runak's just recently, I think like nearly every team had OBR and Soulblight in it, right? And so you're definitely going to see that there. But I think what we're looking at here is really representative, definitely, because I don't know, I feel like us Queenslanders are just like mental when it comes to really just getting into everything, every list, and just really trying to nut them out. Definitely want to see more Crawl Boys on the table though, that's for sure. I've got a big soft spot in my heart. I sold them off and I bought them all back, and I'm like, let's make them work. So.
Yep. Yeah, and that's it. Like everyone's going to have the factions that they really like the look or the feel of. I'm a big sucker for the Seraphon models. I've always loved the Lizardmen. They were the first models I bought back as I think I was 11 at the time. The old Hunchback Saurus. So I always loved them, but they're kind of, I bounce around everything. I've got a couple of kind of works in progress armies that I'm working on. And I'm really looking forward to playing them as well. So just being able to kind of chop and change and jump around to kind of experience the entire game is a huge part, especially that I found in the Southeast Queensland meta. So everyone's really keen to try something new and to get onto it and see what it does. And often it's got absolutely hilarious interactions when you've got two people running kind of off meta lists and then figuring out how they actually play into each other. But this is a list review show, so we probably should look at some lists to review. So getting into our top 8, these will be done in alphabetical order, so that there is no accusations of any bias. And first up, we have Aaron with his Soulblight. So, he's playing Soulblight. He's running the Verkos sub faction. He's got Belladama, Radikar the Beast. And then he's got a Vamplord as his general. He's then got 3 units of 10 Direwolves, a small unit of Blood Knights, and then 2 big units of Graveguard. Everything's wrapped up in a battle regiment for a 2-drop. It looks like a very techie control list. Jayden, what are your thoughts on that?
100%. I have lost against this list over 10 times. It's a really, really challenging list, and Aaron's got this list down pat. And it's typically this kind of castle that comes in, those dogs, and the recursion of the dogs is just insane. And having the answer come back is if you push through those screens, you've got those 2 massive units of Graveguard just to nuke whatever comes through is just devastating. Really powerful control list. He's all over the board. When you think you've taken out half of his army, it pops back up on the other side. Very, very challenging, very difficult, especially for me as a bloody Nurgle player, that I've got like 4 models. So.
Yep, yeah. No, I 100% agree. I've seen him play it at a couple of events, and he very much plays that control style elements of it. Really just pushing them up, keeping you off objectives, limiting your battle tactics, kind of giving you no real good options on where and how to engage. And then because of that, you kind of start running out of steam before you've even started clearing out his army. So really keen to see how he can perform in the finals and how he goes. So, and one of his possible opponents is Brad Van Doren. So do you just want to give us a quick crash course through Brad's list?
Yeah, another absolutely epic player and an epic list. So Brad is a beast when it comes to Trog meta, #TrogMeta. So he's running Glog's Mega Mob, and using the grand strategy Protect the Shrine is always tricky. But I mean, with the way he plays and the way he castles up, very, very powerful. So he's got the Web Spinner Shaman. He's got a Madcap Shaman with Lord of the Primal Frost, Blizzard Wizard. Yeah, he's got Scragrot, which is an absolute beast to have. Really, really effective. He's got the Dankhold Trog Boss, which is either a wiffle bat or just a nuclear bomb. And then he's got a unit of Fell Waters, and then 4x3, so minimum Rock Gut Troggoths. Now, this is a bit of a contentious thing because a lot of people are always going for the 6 and the recursion from the Shrine. Math says it's actually not as good, right? And he knows how to play these minimum units of 3 very, very effectively. He's then also got the Gobblepalooza. Obviously, they're one of the most broken units in the game. Points efficient. The buffs that they can do is obscene and, might I say, just broken. But, we love that. And then he's got the absolute power couple, the twins, the 2 Dankhold Troggoths, which will just nuke anything in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting list. Like you said, a lot of people go for the bigger unit of Troggoths. I really like the minimal units. They're very easy. They're a lot easier to get through. But then he just brings them back, and he's still bringing back. He's got just then more flexibility kind of throughout. He also doesn't mind if he kind of gets bogged down. He can throw 3 Trogs into you, and he's like, "Yep, that's okay. I've got 9 across the rest of the board." Combined with those Fellwaters as well to be able to kind of give them their extra punching power, being able to kind of negate positive modifiers to save is huge. And then the twins, absolutely, they slap. There's no other way to say it. So Scragrot's an awesome tech piece. Same with both of the Shamans. Like, this is kind of half his army's there for a straight up fight, and they will punch well above their weight. The other half is just pure tech and is going to give him so many options throughout the game. And it's just it's really cool to watch him play it. I've played against him once with a similar list, and it's very it doesn't play like your typical list where you've got your big hammer or anvil and then you're playing around that. He's just spread out, he's flexible, he's got all the options. So I really think Brad is a contender to take out the finals.
Yeah, for sure. The amount of stacking debuffs and personal buffs on him, it's just crippling.
So next up we have Brendan with his Stormcast. So Brendan is a kind of a dedicated Stormcast and Cities player. And he's got some really cool conversions throughout. He's got kind of the Knights, Crusaders, Templars, all converted up with the helmets and the tabards. They look really cool, and he plays them really well as well. So he's playing Hammers of Sigmar in Signs of the Storms, so the drop down. He's got a Knight Draconis as his general with Battle Lust and Drake Scale armor, so it just makes him a little bit more tanky, a bit more usable. He's got a Lord Castellan, and then he's got a Battle Mage ally from the New Cities book, which is rocking Hoarfrost, which is a really interesting choice when you see the rest of his list. Because his battle line is a reinforced unit of concussors. So these are the little Dracoth cav that you very rarely see, but they do still get a lot of work done. And then he's backing them up with 2 units of Stormbreak Guard and 5 Sequitors as well. And then he's got a Luminarch as another ally as well. All wrapped up in a battle regiment for a very, very nice and tight 1-drop. So how do you think this list is going to play on the tabletop?
Yeah, it's an interesting list. I mean, Brendan's bloody good player. Like, there's no doubt about it. And as you said, his army is beautiful. The conversions are so cool. It's a really interesting list. I mean, he's got the Stormdrake Guard there with those concussors as well. So he's got a lot of heavy hitters, heavy hammers, and having the Knight Draconis in there as well. Like, it's always good. Like, it's just always solid to have this in there. He's got a lot of ability to pop around the board, a lot of movement, a lot of control, and when a dragon's not strong, right? like they're just always there. Having the Luminarch in there is an interesting choice. I think he's just like knowing the way Brendan plays, he's just going to just crush, get really good on his rolls, which he tends to do, which is just like uncanny, but it's amazing. I'm looking at his Star Drake, who ate 3 of my Blight Kings in 3 rolls. He's just a really good player, and I think this is going to be a tough list to beat purely because of how good he is at the game.
Yeah. Like, he's got a very elite list. Like, it is not many models. It is still a decent amount of wounds. Like, everything there is quite tanky, but everything in there is also very elite. Like, they're going to get where they need to go, and they're going to kill what they need to kill. And Brendan, being the player that he is, he's going to have them in the right spots 9 times out of 10, and he is going to be kind of really solid kind of with where he's going to play and how he's going to play it. So yeah, really interesting list. I'm really pumped to see how he goes on the day. So next up we have Geordie, who is running Beasts. If you want to give us kind of a quick rundown of his list.
Yeah, for sure. I like Geordie's list. So he's running Beast of Chaos with All Herd. So that's the regenerating of his units, the D3 at the end of every battle shock phase. He's got Protect the Herdstone as well. Interestingly, he's taken out Be'lakor in this list. So what he's got is a Beast of Chaos Zangor Shaman with Bestial Cunning and the Slitherak Helm. It's really, really great. He's got a Grey Shaman with Blizzard. He's got 2 Grey Shamans with Blizzard. So he's really looking for that redundancy to just absolutely nuke anyone that comes into him. For Battle Line, he's got 10 Ogres, 10 Ungors, 10 Ungors, and then 2 units of 10 Ungor Raiders as well, just for popping up around the board, shooting off the board, all that sort of thing. He can go anywhere he wants. Really, like a heat. And then for his other units, he's got a unit of 6 Beasts of Chaos, Zangor, and Lightning on disc. These things are brutal, fast, and can go anywhere. He's got his 6 Bulgors with axes and bull shields. Definitely the better choice. Usually people are choosing the axes for all damage. Having the shields there for more survivability is definitely the way to go. And then he's got 2 units of 3 Dragon Ogres as well. So there's a Warlord battalion here, 134 wounds, so it's a lot of wound density, but low armor save, and all of that's in 11 drops.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really interesting list, and Geordie is once again a very another techie player, and this list I feel is very, very descriptive of how he plays. It's options. Like there's not going to be a single turn in any of the games where Geordie is back against the wall, there's nothing I can do. There is always going to be something he can do. So even just splitting up the Dragon Ogres into 2 units of 3 is a really interesting choice, because it enables him to spread out even further, and really just kind of be able to threaten everywhere on the board with the amount of ambushing that he's got, with the speed of the Enlightened on disc, even with the speed of the Dragon Ogres. He is going to be really difficult to keep off objectives, keep out of backlines, keep away from important units and characters. And with the redundancy of kind of the 2 Blizzard Wizards, he's definitely looking to kind of get that nuke off to really cripple his opponent, and then just kind of drown him under bodies and under just a wave of beasts.
Yeah, I really love that, and you're so right. It's just layers of redundancies. Like how many hammers has he got here? Right, and how much board control, like he can just pop up everywhere. And I think that's the way Geordie plays. I think that's going to be really effective and really tough to beat as well.
Yeah. So next up we have Jacob with his Ogres. So he is running Boulderhead. So he's got a Frostlord on Stonehorn with an Arcane Tome. He's got a Huskard on Stonehorn, who's his general, who's got the Blood Vulture. Got the Voice of the Avalanche to make him a priest. He's got Metal Cruncher to deal with heavily armored stuff and Pulverizing Hailstorm. He's also got a Slaughtermaster in there, just for a bit of magical support, a couple of good magic battle tactics that he can get through that. And then the rest of his list is a big unit of Mournfang, with the clubs and the Iron Fist. Once again, we're seeing him go for more survivability, similar to Geordie, than just the pure damage. And then 2 Stonehorn Beast Riders, both with Blood Vultures. This is a very, very aggressive list. He wants to be kind of controlling the tempo of the game, and Jacob is a great player, so I can definitely see him kind of taking control of the game early and then forcing his opponent to play to his strengths and ideally their weaknesses. How do you think it's going to go on the table?
Yeah, 100%. I remember playing against this list against Jacob in a tournament not too long ago, one day, and man, it was like clutch. It was so tight, like aggressive, very, very aggressive. And we know how survivable Stonehorns are with that 5-up ward, neg 1 to wound in combat. It's really tough to take them down. And it's like taking every single Stonehorn down is like this massive like relief, but then you've got another one just slamming into you next time. Like it's really, really tricky. Having those Mournfang with the speed they've got, where like everything's fast, but the Mournfang are going to be running around the board, grabbing objectives and taking away little screens here and there. And he doesn't really like mind about that because he's just pinning the rest of your army in and controlling it while these Mournfang are just cleaning up everywhere. It's a lot of control, a lot of power, a lot of speed, and you're going to win or lose real, real quick.
Yeah. Even seeing that his grand strategy is Overshadow, which is kill all your opponent's battle line, that usually kind of indicates that his list is there to punch. It's going to punch hard, it's going to punch fast, and then it's either going to punch through or it's going to bounce off. So I'm really keen to see how Jacob goes. Next up, we have Jordan. And so Jordan tricked me a little bit by he spent most of the kind of the weeks leading up to this sending me photos of conversions of his Corn army to get them approved, and then at the very last minute changed his mind and decided to play Iron Jaws instead. So he's playing Iron Jaws. He's got Bloodtooth. Do you want to run us through the rest of his list there?
Yeah. Grand strategy war, which is you have your general or a battle line in your opponent's territory, and like thank you, nice and easy, right? So he's got it's really a pretty common list, but I mean it's really effective, right? So we got the two Auric War Chanters with Get and Beat, both of them with Get and Beat. We've got Mega Boss on Maw Crusher with the Gore Hacker and Chopper, Artifact the Destroyer with Fasten, so he's just going to be able to just hunt, seek a missile just all the way up the board whenever he wants. He's got the Auric Weird Knob Shaman, who's the general. Shaman of the Chill of Lands, which he's got on there, which is important. He's got the Hand of Gork to just teleport anything around. And then we've got battle lines. So he's got a unit of 6 Gore Grunters, 3 Gore Grunters, 3 Gore Grunters, 3 Gore Grunters, right? So just for that move, just hitting him home. And then with the new Ard Boys points adjustments, what he's got is he's got 1 unit of 10 Ard Boys and a unit of 5 Auric Brutes. And so all of that's 6 drop. He's taken the Battle Regiment and the Command Entourage for Magnificent for the extra spells as well, which is really interesting there. Yeah, interesting choice. So a pretty standard list with a few adjustments because of the new points changes, but I mean, it's tried and true, and we know what this thing does.
Yeah. That Maw Crusher combined with all of those pigs, they're going to be hitting the front lines early, they're going to be hitting the front lines hard, and if you haven't screened out properly and entirely with the fast stun, the Mighty Destroyers, and normal move, if you've left a gap for that Mega Boss, it's going to slip in through that gap and absolutely lay the smack down into your little backline heroes. But yeah, it's once again, it's another really aggressive list, and it's one that I think Jordan is there. He's there to win, and he's there to try and kind of secure the game early in the first couple of turns. I don't know how this will go into kind of the more techie lists. I'm really interested to see whether he's got just the pure, just brute force to smash through their lines early, and try and take control of the game kind of from the get go before people can get buffs up, before they can get their screens kind of spread out, before they can get on objectives even. Really interested to see how Jordan plays it.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be tight. You just, with looking at the sort of list that we've got here at the moment, and there's a lot of layers, a lot of screens, or just heavy density. It's like, well, you hit me, but I'm going to hit you back. And if you don't get a double turn, it's game over, right? Very interesting. So might not know. He might be playing really defensively, like really cagey and slowly chipping away. I've seen a lot of pig lists doing that recently, and it's a really good effect.
No, really interested to see how he plays it. So next up we have Paddy Carter with his KO. So he's bringing them from Barracks Zilfin. Grand strategy of Rule the Skies, and then his code is Honor is Everything, Trust to your guns, and without ships we are naught. He's got a really interesting list because it is not one of your your stereotypical lists. He's got an Admiral with Stormcaller and a Pouch of Neldusk. He's got a Navigator with a Voidstone Orb, and he's got an Aether Chemist. And then he's got a big unit of Arcanaut, 20 strong with the full kind of loadout of all the different special weapons. 10 Arcanaut. Then he's got 2 Arcanaut frigates, a Gunstruck gun hauler, and then an Ironclad. All wrapped up in a battle regiment for a 2-drop. So this is going to be a really interesting list to play against. From what I can tell, he's going to start kind of everything. He's going to be in the boats. And then he's going to kind of fly out, drop them down. And then Arcanauts actually are quite punchy, especially if you can get them onto objectives early, where they can get kind of some of their bonuses. Backed up with the Chemist, backed up with the Admiral, they really can kind of punch above their weight. How do you kind of see this? Because this is a kind of a different type of tech again to what we're seeing. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, KO make my head spin. So probably in our local meta, KO is one of the ones that we very rarely see. I've played one game against KO in a tournament and just got really lucky. But the ability to just like jump around the board, shoot from distance, and the amount of firepower is just obscene. Like it really is obscene. And when you've got a really good player behind KO, like it's gross. Especially because I know so many really elite players, and they come against KO and they're just like, man, I lost. And I'm like, how? Like, you're so good at what you do. And it's like, yeah, well, KO makes KO bull crap work, and all of a sudden you can't kind of have an answer to it. So I think KO is always like this wild horse where if they know what they're doing and they get all the things right, I mean, the battle tactics, right, are just like pretty much auto get, but they're really hard on getting the objectives. So when it's played right and you get that shooting off, yeah, it's very difficult to navigate through.
Yeah, no, and definitely Paddy is one of the best players in Southeast Queensland. I don't think that's a very controversial opinion to have. I'm fairly objective about that. He is an excellent player. It is a very strong list, so it is going to be really interesting to see how it performs in the finals. And our final competitor in the top 8 is Tom. Now, Tom's another local in North Brisbane at Wargaming Sub, so I'll let you run through his corn list.
Yeah, awesome. Tom's been playing this list a lot. He's really been refining it, which is really, really awesome. So he's got the Skullfreeing tribe with his grand strategy to bring me a worthy skull. So in the list, he's got a Slaughter Priest as his general, which is a command trait, the High Priest of Khorne, with a Predacular Instinct. He's got Valkyr, the Bloody. Valkyr is an awesome list, a really cool techie piece to use. He's got a Realmgore Ritualist with Blood Sacrifice. He's got the Patch of Maldost on them. He's got a Bloodthirster of Infected Fury with the King of Blades, and he's got the Blood Secrator as well with the Banner of Blood. Then Battle Line, he's got a nice big brick of 20 Blood Warriors, which is always tough to chew through. He's got 10 Blood Reavers, 10 Blood Reavers, and then we've got those 6 Mighty Skull Crushers, which are just pinning aficionados. Like, my goodness, they're hard to get through. And then apart from that, he's got, which is a bit of a controversial pick usually, but he knows how to play them really, really well. He's got 2 single units of Korvorats in his list, which are very rare, but as I said, he knows what he's doing with them. And to top it all of that, he's got the tried and true Hexforger Skulls, which are just wreaking havoc in the meta at the moment. It's like so many people are just looking at like, how can I bring a priest in my army just to stop these bloody things, right? And so he's got all of that in a command entourage and a battle regiment as well.
Yeah. Really, really interesting list. Like, he's got a few massive threats, like the Mighty Skull Crushers, the Thirster. They're going to hit you hard, they're going to hit you fast, but they're also going to slow you down. They're going to let those Blood Reavers and those Blood Warriors get where they need to be and really just pin you in place. Like you said before, the Korgoroths are a really, really spicy pick. So I'm really interested to see how they do on the table. But it was like we were saying at the start, Khorne's in a very good place at the moment. And it's definitely rewarding players that are kind of using it to really push it to its limits. So interesting. I really like Valkyr as well. She's such a cool little techie piece. The interesting thing is the Thirster. As powerful as the Thirster is, you don't really see them outside of kind of the triple Thirster list, or usually they are kind of uprated to Scarbrand. What do you think is his kind of thinking behind the Unfettered Fury?
So correct me if I'm wrong, the artifact, that's the one that gives the no ward save, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So essentially, all he's doing is he's pinning, right? He's pinning with the Skull Crushers and just dropping the Bloodthirster in the middle and just watching it go to town. And so you've got to bring that artifact, right? Essentially, it's just so important. It's so effective. And with this meta, because everyone's got a bloody 5-up ward right now, it just turns like, monsters into babies when you have the ability to do that. So yeah, Scarbrand's a beast, but when you've got the Bloodthirster there with that ability to use it, like it's just really, really good. And so many people are relying on having that plus a Scarbrand at the moment. But what Tom's doing is bringing a lot of unique options as well to not rely on that. And it's making his list not as one-dimensional as some of those twin and just focusing on that pure raw damage. So there's a lot of tech involved in this. It's really tricky to navigate.
A really interesting list. Another player that I'm kind of really interested to see how they go. So But that is our top 8 players for the event. Really interesting list there. I'm really pumped at the fact that we don't have a double up of factions as well. Like that really speaks volumes to the quality of the game that Games Workshop is putting out. Out of all the factions that we just discussed there, excluding players, which faction do you think is kind of in the best spot with those lists? Like, which if you had to pick one of the lists to kind of take it out, excluding all the players, which list do you think is the strongest there?
If we're just talking on pure list, based on the meta right now, it'd have to be Soul Blight Gravelords, Aaron's list.
Yep.
It's just got so many answers to everything, and Aaron, yeah, I know you said excluding Aaron players, but he's a bloody good player, right? So
Yeah, no, I can't go past Geordie's list. The just the amount of options he has with those beasts and kind of the amount of angles that he's going to be hitting people from is just going to be incredible. So very interesting to see how those two lists go. But announcing here for the first time, we have the first round matchups for the event, and they are Brendan versus Tom, Paddy versus Brad, Geordie versus Aaron, and Jacob versus Jordan. So these matchups were decided based on the final standings in the overall series. So Brendan came in first, and Tom came in 8th, so they will play. Paddy and Brad are 2nd and 7th. Geordie and Aaron are 3rd and 6th, and then Jacob and Jordan are 4th and 5th. So looking at these matchups, who do you think is going to take out each one of them? Let's start with the first one, Brendan versus Tom. What do you think is going to happen in that game?
what I think is going to happen in the game with Brendan and Tom, it's really tough. So again, with those dragons just coming in and just hitting them with no mortal wound protection at all, with the shooting, it's going to be really tough for Tom, because really they've got no. He can step into them during combat and stuff, but that's not really going to do much, right? It's not going to stop any impact hits on the charge. So Brendan's still going to have full force, which I think is really important. So it'd be about really Tom trying to get in and pin those Storm Drake guards down as quickly as possible to take out his major threat pieces. And then if he's clogging up the Fulminators as well, I think that's going to be a help. But I think Brendan's probably got the edge in this matchup.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a very interesting game. Like, as much as Brendan has the quality and the elite troops, Tom has a lot of bodies. Like those 6 Skull Crushers, those 20 Blood Warriors. He's got another 20 Blood Reavers, the 2 Gorgoroths. That's a lot of wounds to get through. And they might not have a good save. They might not have that being able to soak that damage. But they do have just the beef just to be able to stay there and stick it out and just grind as well. So, like you said, some of Tom's abilities are going to kind of not be as useful against him. But it's going to be a really interesting matchup, especially in the first round, which is Towers in the Tundra. So a really spicy mission as well that not a lot of people have really played extensively. The reason it is Towers in the Tundra is everyone is going home with a limited edition Wizard Tower as part of their kind of loot from qualifying for the finals, which is really cool. So everyone will get there'll be 2 extra towers on every table in the first round. But yeah, really keen to see how Brendan and Tom play this one out. I think Brendan's got a slight edge, but I definitely don't think it's his game to lose. I think it's going to be a very tight game.
Yeah, agreed. The ability, like the board control that Tom can use is exceptional. And he knows how to do it as well. It's always a tough game with Tom and Brendan, so it's going to be 2 awesome opponents, and yeah, it's going to be great to see what comes out of that.
Yeah. Going on to the next table, Paddy versus Brad. I think this is going to be an absolutely exceptional game to watch. With Brad just being able to spread out his smaller units, it doesn't give Paddy one big target to focus on. So he's gonna be having to try and accurately gauge how much damage he needs to wipe each unit before moving on to the next one. But also Brad being able to spread out is just going to shut down so much of Paddy's mobility as well. So this is another really interesting one. I'm not sure who I am kind of picking to take it out, it all comes down to, I personally think it will come down to the terrain on the table that these guys get, with the exact placements of it, with where that limits Paddy from being able to fly. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Paddy. I mean, I play Brad a lot and know his army very, very well. He is a freak at playing trogs. Like, it is gross how good he is and how effective he uses them. I think having the distance to just like not engage, right, and just shoot from a distance is a real big kind of weakness for Brad. Is because if Paddy just plays around the edges and just picks off his army, picks up his key pieces bit by bit by bit, I think that's going to be a struggle. But if Brad gets into him and touches him, it's like he's just going to rip boats out of the sky, right? And so I think you're really, really spot on when it comes to if it's towers in the tundra, right, where the terrain is, where the objectives are. It could be very, very interesting to see. And because of the map, I think it's actually going to be really anyone's game, and with the terrain as well, I think you're right. If it was any sort of other game where we could kind of spread out, I think Paddy might have the edge, but because of this battle plan, I think it's going to be really, really different wildcard. Super interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I'm really pumped to see that one. And another game that I am absolutely psyched to see is Geordie versus Aaron. So these guys both brought probably the most techie lists possible. And to have them playing in the first round is very much going to be a massive, massive skill check for both of them. Any thoughts on how this matchup is going to kind of play out from your perspective, or?
Again, both of these players are exceptional, and their awareness of board control, their awareness of how to just do like 4D chess and bring things up from other sides of the board, which you wouldn't even think of. This is going to be like the most complex battle of the minds, I reckon, for the day. Just seeing both of these absolute powerhouses play their techie list together. I've seen them play together, and it's really, really tight. Geordie's probably got a bit more hitting power. Aaron's got a bit more staying power. So it's kind of going to counteract each other really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of attrition, which is going to be super important. I mean, if Geordie can hit him hard and fast enough, and then he's got nothing left to recur, maybe. I don't know how to call this one at all.
Yeah, no, I definitely think out of all the games in this first round, this is going to be the tightest. I personally think it's going to come down to whoever makes the first mistake.
Yep.
And I think whoever makes that mistake is going to lose. And I don't even think it has to be a big mistake. It might be they didn't screen out by half an inch, or they had their screens too close to their next lines. I reckon it's going to be an exceptional game to watch. I'm definitely thinking this is going to be one of the games that we will be filming, whether we get around to doing a battle report on it or just posting it up just as the raw footage. But I definitely think this game is going to be a masterclass in positioning, screening, and kind of obscure angles of attack as well. So,
yeah, totally agree. And both players are very capable of doing just the most ridiculous millimeter things that just completely change the game.
Yeah. And then in kind of opposite faction, we have Jacob and Jordan as our final first round matchup. Both of these guys brought smash lists, and so they're here to smash. So I think this last game is going to be a very short one, but it is going to be a very enjoyable one to watch. So what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Whoever gets the double is going over, I think. Yeah, like what a complete contrast, as you said, to Geordie and Aaron. This is just going to be, let's smash, let's meet in the middle, and let's have a laugh about how stupid our armies are and how fun it is to roll dice, right? That's what it's all about. So what was I think Jordan was a pretty high drop list. Who's going to have priority here?
I believe it is Jacob will have priority, because Jordan is a 6 drop. Jacob is a 2.
6. Right, so Jacob's going to have that choice. I think this is what's really going to set the pace. Neither player wants to give away first turn, which is important, but both players want the double, right?
Yeah.
So I think if Jacob has that power and he can give it away and screen really well with his Mournfang or do something like that and just take that brunt, and then if he gets a double turn and answers back, could be absolutely devastating. Wait and see, right?
Yeah, no, this is going to be another awesome game. I'm really kind of looking at all these matchups, like none of them I can just confidently go, oh yeah, no, 100% Tom's going to win or 100% Brendan's going to win. They are all going to come down to how people play on the day, which is exactly what you want in a final situation like this. So, but yeah, if you had to pick, probably who would be your kind of top two contenders to take out the entire event?
Whew. To take out the entire event, it's really interesting. If Brad gets up against Paddy, I reckon he's really there. And again, if Aaron gets up against Geordie, it'd definitely be between Brad and Aaron, in my personal opinion,
Yep.
depending on how those two games go. But those two games could go either way, which is really, really scary, right? Just don't know. Like, I've got the most experience against Brad and Aaron, and I know how bloody good they are. And yeah, I think it's going to be really, really tight.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon all the players here are like exceptionally solid. Like this entire event is going to be an event of like the final top table games. I really do like Paddy's list. It is a really interesting techie choice. But I also really like Brendan's list as well. Like he's got a lot of options there. He's got a lot of flexibility. He can kind of really get that damage where he needs to be. And a bit of a dark horse, I think I'm very interested to see how Jordan does because he has been consistently submarining through a lot of events recently. But I don't know if that's just him with his corn because I know he did have a lot of success with Iron Jaws back in the day. So I'm really keen to see what he can do with them in this next event as well. So, but yeah, I've had a couple of people ask me kind of, oh yeah, who's your pick for it? And I said it's a Shark Tank. Any one of these guys could win it, and no one is going to be surprised. So, yeah, it's going to be an absolutely incredible event. So I'm really pumped to be a part of it and to be able to run it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the event. So I will be messaging all these guys with the lists, letting them know that kind of the first round matchups have been released and what they are. We also have kind of not in this video, but we've also got two backups. They're the next two highest ranked players in the Gauntlet, and I will call those guys out because they did an incredible job to get as high as they did. So our first reserve is Paul, and he'll be bringing Stormcast, a really interesting kind of Vanguard Hunter style list, very flexible, very hypermobile. And then our second reserve is Matt Dale, who is bringing Gargants. He was a bit disappointed that I'm not allowing any armies of renown in this list in this event, but it's very much a case of have and have nots at the moment from my perspective. So I didn't want to kind of give an advantage to people that had kind of they got the lucky army, and that's what GW have released them for. So, but those are our two reserves as well, and I'll be sending those lists out to all of the players as well so that they can kind of read up on them so that if someone unfortunately does have to drop, no one is kind of going to be too surprised if they aren't playing who they're there. So, but that is it for this kind of list and series review. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Jayden. Hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully everyone listening learnt a bit of kind of about kind of your backstory, your background, and how you've been playing, and kind of your thoughts of the list. So, is there any kind of shout outs or kind of last minute advice you want to give to either these players or any of the other viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout out to Wargamers Hub. We're up at Caboolture playing there. We play every Monday night. Absolutely love it. And our two teams out of there, which is Hobby Grots. You know, we have two teams at Brunax, which is really cool. We've got such a big club, which is just, it's great. So love all the Hobby Grots, just exceptional players. And we're really there to have fun. Like, we don't take it too seriously, but we seem to be doing it right on the circuit, which is pretty cool. So absolutely love the crowd and love all the competitors here. You know, we're very familiar. All of us are seeing each other at the tournament. So it's such a good vibe up here. And you know, what you're doing here, Henry, is creating this gauntlet's just been exceptional, right? The buzz about it's always there. Everyone's really excited. You run a really good tournament scene. And yeah, man, just keep doing this, keep it up and keep crushing it. The more the merrier.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. Like, I put a lot of work in behind the scenes because when it comes down to it, I do love running events. I love attending events as well. And the best way for there to be kind of more and better quality events is to kind of bring the standard of the events up. And I'm already seeing that, like all the other TOs in Southeast Queensland are doing an amazing job. They're coming ahead leaps and bounds with what they used to be. And it is awesome. The scene up here is amazing, and I put a lot of that down to the community. The community is really good. We got a lot of really good players, a lot of really welcoming players as well. So I know a lot of people like yourself, Brad, Scott, Matt, all running events, all welcoming new players, really helping them kind of get their skills up, get confident enough to come to tournaments, get confident enough to meet the other players in the area, and be able to play this fantastic game that we all spend way too much time and money on. So. But we will leave that there. If you've enjoyed the video, leave us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and put a comment down below if you've got any kind of last minute advice for any of the players or who you think is going to kind of take out the whole event. Other than that, we'll both be seeing you probably at the next event. See ya.
See you guys.